Former Italian Prime Minister Massimo D'Azeglio is known for saying, "L'Italia è fatta, restano da fare gli italiani." We have made Italy. Now we must make Italians. Because before Italy was Italy, it was like, I don't know, like 8 major kingdoms and then a bunch of like mini duchies and city-states and kingdoms as well. Most of them were like Latin-based peoples that spoke Latin languages, and some of them were unintelligible from the other ones. And each of these distinct areas to this day still hold on tightly to their regional roots. Like if you talk to a Sicilian, they will let you know they are Sicilian. And, since they have such strong regional identities, sometimes it kind of makes them, once in a while, it kind of makes them think, could I? No. Should I? No. And Italy is just one place where this type of stuff happens. Welcome to the world of European separatist movements. Let's have a Geogra talk. Hey Geography peeps. Oh, what am I drinking from right now? It's a Geography Now mug, of which it's fourth you can get at geographynow.com. Got a variety of different items there. You can get like this drawstring bag, and you can put the drawstring bag on, and you can put the mug in the bag, whatever you want to do. I don't care. It's not selling out if it's your brand, and this is my brand, so I'm not selling out. That's my justification. All right, anyway, moving on. So today, there are currently about 100 separatist groups spread throughout all of Europe. They all have their own varying degrees of active and seriousness when it comes to movement status. Some of these groups are kind of seen as like a small joke and nobody really pays attention to them, whereas some of these areas are like full-fledged, high self-proclaimed, somewhat functioning sovereignty areas. When it comes to organizing, the advocacy group that is probably most famous is the EFA, or the European Free Alliance, which is a political party that consists of various regionalist and separatist groups. According to their criteria, a separatist group must have an active movement with active members. They are seeking greater autonomy or self-determination for a geographic region, and they are citizens or people of the conflict area and do not come from another country. So a little disclaimer, I'm going to go through all of the separatist groups. Not all of them are EFA members, but they all fall within the criteria of the EFA. In addition, I also want to mention that all of these separatist groups actually do have their own political parties or advocacy groups, because in some countries they don't allow opposing political parties. Yeah, let's just go down them one by one, okay? Starting alphabetically with Albania. Technically, you could consider the sovereign state of the Bektashi order as a sort of separatist group. So long story short, in 2024, the Prime Minister of Albania announced that he was going to set up this European microstate within Tirana, the capital. And it would serve as the headquarters of the Bektashi order of Sufi Islam. It's more of like the headquarters for Albanian Sufi Muslims. So yeah, that's just, don't call it the Vatican of Islam. So it's weird. It's like, this was the idea of the prime minister and it needs approval of the parliament and they're still working on it, but yeah, that's Albania. Belgium. So if you know anything about Belgium, you know that it's basically made up of 3 parts. Flanders, Wallonia, the Brussels area, technically a 4th German part. Long story short, Flanders and Wallonia do have their own independent separatist movements. And there's 2 sides to this coin as well, because there's a movement for further autonomy and there's a movement for actual annexation into the larger countries that neighbor them. There's the Rassemblement movement of Walloon France, which they want to be annexed back into France, the Walloon side. And then there's the Greater Netherlands movement, in which the Flemish people want to be annexed back into Netherlands. And both sides argue how the capital, Brussels, would be split because it's like 80% French speaking, but it's like within the Flemish area. It's so complicated. But yeah, anyway, if you know anything about Belgium, it's like, it's amazing that they're even still standing, but hey, they somehow figure it out. Now, Bosnia and Herzegovina has 2 of them, the Republic of Srpska and the Croatian community of Herzegovina, Bosnia. So if you don't know anything about Bosnia and Herzegovina, it is one of the most complex nations in all of the Balkans, let alone the whole world, because it is made up of 3 constituent peoples, the Serbians, Croatians, and Bosnians. And after all of the wars, one day they were like, okay, we know you all hate each other, but good luck, figure it out. And to this day, the country is still kind of regionally segregated amongst the constituent people groups. And both of the communities have an idea of what they would like should they either secede or be re-annexed back into Serbia and Croatia. And if they did that, it would kind of screw over the Bosnians because it would re-landlock them, because Croatia would take whatever little coast they had with the coast of Neum, which is only like 11 kilometers long. In that regard, Croatia kind of has a little something too. Istria. Now they aren't seeking independence, they're just seeking seeking further autonomy within Croatia. Now, Istria is a very diverse area. It's got a lot of Istro-Romanians, Croatians, Italians, and even native Istrian people. It's like a Latin-speaking group, but they also have Slavic roots. It's complicated. Yeah, that's the situation in Croatia. Cyprus. The whole freaking country is like one big separatist group, okay? If you watched my Cyprus episode, it basically, the whole northern third of the island is basically the Turkish area of Cyprus, because after the war, there was a big UN buffer zone that split it all up. And to this day, the international community recognizes the Southern Republic of Cyprus side, and only Turkey recognizes the Northern Cyprus side. So today there are three possible solutions to the whole situation with Northern Cyprus. A, recognition as a separate state. B, union with Turkey. Or C, best case scenario, reunification with the entire island and the rest of Cyprus. Who knows what's gonna happen? I went there. I even went in the buffer zone at the old Nicosia airport. It's crazy, man. That island, ooh. Good luck, Cyprus. Next up, in Czechia, or the Czech Republic, there's the Moravian land movement for the Moravian people. So basically, the Czech Republic is kind of like a conglomeration of three historical communities: Bohemia, Moravia, and Czech Silesia. Silesia is also, it extends further up into Poland. And the Moravian part wants further autonomy within the Czech Republic. So to kind of illustrate this, in the Czech Republic, Bohemia is like Marsha from the Brady Bunch, and then like Moravia is like Jan. Like, why does Bohemia always get all the attention? It's always Bohemia, Bohemia, Bohemia. That's the situation. Okay, let's move on. Denmark. So basically everything that is affiliated with Denmark, but is outside of continental Denmark, has a separatist or at least minor movement going on. I'm talking about Greenland, Faroe Islands, and even Bornholm Island. Long story, we've already explained this, but Greenland is the closest thing right now to a full-fledged separatist movement. Like, they were given home rule and then further autonomy with self-rule back in 2009. They actually do have the right to secede if they want at any time. And they even have like a constitution already. It's drafted up and ready to go when they're ready to claim independence. But it takes a little bit more time to figure things out logistically and how they would move forward doing so. So they're kind of, they're taking their time right now. Faroe Islands, similar situation. They have a whole separate language and culture from Denmark. And Bornholm has the Bornholm Self-Government Party. The island only has like, I don't know, like 35,000 people. It's crazy. But like even they are like trying to ask for the same thing. Just want to say to my buddy Gus, who's Danish, hey, you've been posting up all those, memes about Denmark trying to buy California. Your country can't even hold on to its constituents within the kingdom. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to poke fun at you, man. All right. I love you, man. All right. Next. Okay. Next up, Finland. Finland has the autonomous Åland Islands, which are predominantly inhabited by ethnic Swedes. So they have the Future of Åland Party, which is actually vying for their own independent statehood, not for annexation back into Sweden. So if it were to happen, there would be two Swedish-speaking countries in the world. The history of Åland Islands is crazy, man. Long story short, it has to do with Russia, and Finland was like, you can't have them. And then Sweden was like, technically I'm neutral. And then Finland was like, Burr! And then that's how it fell under Finnish sovereignty with autonomy. Anyway, that was my summary from action. Let's just move on. France. Oh my God, here we go. So currently there are 8 secessionist movements in France. Many of these have varying degrees of seriousness with their propositions. Many of them even have military groups. They are as follows, alphabetically: the Basque Country, Brittany, Corsica, French Flanders. This is not the Walloon thing from the Belgium thing. These are actually French people in the Flemish part of Belgium. It's a whole other thing. Provence, North Catalonia, and East Pyrenees. We'll talk more about that in the Spain part. Savoie, which seeks to unify various regions of southern France and northern Italy. And l'Amazon. Long story short, each of these areas has their own distinct, unique identity from the rest of metropolitan France, I guess you could say. Germany. Germany currently has 5 separatist parties with their own proposed states or autonomous areas. You got Bavaria, led by the Free State of Bavaria Party. There's Saxony, led by the Free Saxony Party. Lusitania, which is where the ethnic Sorbs of Germany, that's a Slavic group in the far eastern part of Germany. Sorry, I meant to say Lusatia, not Lusitania. Lusitania is the old name of Portugal. Moving on. Then you have the East Frisia movement, led by Die Friesen, which is the part of Lower Saxony that seeks to unify with the Frisians, which are found in northern Netherlands. They speak Frisian, which, by the way, is the language closest to Old English. And then Franconia, led by the Party for Franconia. They are actually vying for a free state status within Germany, not secession into a new country. Now let's move on to Hungary. Hungary has the Opre Roma Democratic People's Party. For the Roma, or you might know them as Gypsies, but they prefer sometimes to go by Roma, they are vying for an area in the northern part of Hungary that they want to call Romastan. Now let's move on to Italy. here we go. There is the Friuli movement. Lombardy proposes its own state. There's also the proposed state of Padania, which is pretty much, it seeks to unify everything in northern Italy. And then in that regard, there's also Mezzogiorno, which seeks to unify all the parts of southern Italy, including Sardinia and Sicily. But in that regard, Sardinia and Sicily also have their own things going on. Veneto has two movements, a secessionist and an autonomist one. And Trieste is seeking for a free territory status. Italy. Lithuania. Lithuania currently has the Samogitia party made up of Samogitian peoples. It's kind of considered like a subset culture within Lithuanian peoples. They are vying for further autonomy in an area of the northwestern part of Lithuania. Malta has Gozo, the second largest island in the already incredibly small country. They only have about 35,000 people. There used to be a Gozo party, but it is now defunct. And they are seeking further autonomy within Malta. Moldova, this is an interesting one because I actually went to these. Moldova has Transnistria and Gagauzia. So Transnistria is a self-declared state with breakaway status, supported mostly by Russia, and they operate independently with their own legislation and social services. They even have their own currency, which uses like plastic coins. It's weird. Seriously, check out my video. They are vying for independence in their own country-state status, or in the extreme sense, some are even talking about unification with Russia. But that would be really weird because like Ukraine is right there and they kind of separate them geographically from Russia, and that would make things really complicated, and they get good luck with annexation. And then you also have Gagauzia, which is mostly inhabited by the ethnic Gagauz people. They are a Turkic group within Moldova. The People's Union of Gagauzia party is proposing an actual state called the Gagauz Republic. So make of that what you will. Montenegro has the Free Sandzak party. Sandzak is an area that straddles the border between Montenegro and Serbia in the northeastern part of the country. Basically, this whole area is inhabited mostly by Bosniaks, which are vying for further autonomy within both Montenegro and Serbia. The Netherlands has the Frisian National Party, which is also a member of the EFA. They are seeking greater autonomy for West Frisia within the Netherlands. And of course, they also talk with the people on the German side in Lower Saxony. Poland currently has 4 autonomous movements. They are Silesia, which are the same Silesians that we talked about in Czechia, the Czech Republic one, Kashubia and Pomerania, Masuria, and Greater Poland. Again, these 4 are just seeking further autonomy. Portugal currently has the Azores Liberation Front, which is currently proposing actually an independent state. Ballsy move, Azores. Just a few scattered islands in the middle of the Atlantic. I'm just saying. Romania. Okay, Romania's got quite a few. Let's go through them. First, there's Transylvania and Banat. They are led by multiple parties. There's not one single party. And then there's Sikeland, which is basically the areas that the ethnic Hungarians live in Romania. And then there's Partium, which is seeking territorial autonomy status. Now here's the thing. All of these areas have high ethnic Hungarian populations, and they are pretty much the ones leading all of these autonomy / secessionist movements. Or in the extreme talks, reunion back with Hungary. You're going to see a pattern going on with the Hungarian peoples in Europe. Austro-Hungarian Empire never really quite died with these people, I'm just saying. So now we move on to Russia. Russia actually has the most secessionist movements at 18. Most of them are made up of the peoples of the republics of Russia. So for those of you who don't know, Russia has 85 federal subjects within their union. So like they have oblasts, they have krais, which are like territories. They have a bunch of subdivisions. And then they have republics. Republics are the areas of Russia that are designated for certain ethnic groups that are within the Russian Federation. They did used to have a degree of autonomy, but in 2017, the Russian government kind of took away their autonomy, and now they are on equal standing with the oblasts and all the other subjects of the Russian Federation. That being said, some of them even have their own militant organizations, and some of them even have their own governments in exile in undisclosed locations because they can't reveal where they are. So here we go. They are Adygea for the Circassian peoples, Bashkortostan for the Bashkirs, Chechnya for the Chechen people, Dagestan for the Dagestanis, Ingushetia for the Ingush, Kalmykia for the Kalmyks, or they are also possibly seeking unification with the Astrakhan Oblast in Russia, Mari El for the Mari people, Karelia for the Karelians, which by the way are the cousins of the Finnish people, Mordova for the Erzias and Mokshas people, advocating the state of Erzian, Mastor, and Mokshan. That's a mouthful. Tatarstan for the Tatar people, and Udmurtia for the Udmurt peoples. Also, there's a movement for the Confederation of the Northern Caucasus, or the United Caucasia state. Then there's the proposed state of Kosakia, or the Don Cossack host, with undefined borders in what is now the Volgograd and Rostov oblasts. Then there's also the Idel-Ural state, or the Volga-Ural state, led by the Free Idel-Ura advocacy group. Oh my god, there's still more. There's Krasnodar Krai for the Cossack peoples, proposing the state of Kuban, led by the Free Nations League. By the way, Krasnodar Krai, that's where Sochi is, where the Winter Olympics were held. The Leningrad Oblast, proposing the state of Ingria, or the Republic of St. Petersburg. And then the Kaliningrad exclave has proposed the Baltic Republic of Königsberg. And today there are 6 Russian-occupied areas that are de jure subdivisions under Ukraine. They have unsure futures right now until conflict subsides. They are Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Kharkiv. Make of that what you will. I'm just reporting what the situation is. Whew, okay, now let's move on. Serbia. Serbia currently has 2 autonomy movements and the big guy, Kosovo. Yeah, Kosovo. You've probably heard of Kosovo. There's no quick way to summarize it, but I'll just try my best. It is mostly inhabited by ethnic Albanians, control under the Yugoslavs. Things got crazy. There were wars, and in 2008 they declared independence, and they are kind of like a de facto state right now that is recognized by about half of the members in the UN. In addition, Serbia also has the Preševo Valley for the ethnic Albanians in Serbia, proposing further autonomy within the country. And then they also have the Vojvodino part in the northern part of Serbia. So the northern part of Serbia is very diverse, but there is an exceptionally widely known Hungarian community out here, and they are vying for one of 2 options: either an autonomous Republic of Vojvodina within the sovereignty of federalized Serbia, or some kind of territorial autonomy just for the Hungarian minority in the northern part of Vojvodina close to the Hungarian border. I told you, it's always the Hungarians. And here we go again. Slovakia. Guess who's trying to vie for secession? The Hungarian community. Slovakia has the Southern Slovakia Movement Party led by the Hungarian community of Slovakia. This area is a compact Hungarian ethnic bloc proposing cultural and regional autonomy in Slovakia, or in the extreme, unification with Hungary. Oh man, you Hungarians, you just want to, it's always the Hungarians, I told you. All right, moving on. Spain! Before I even get into this, if you watched my Spain episode, they don't even have states or provinces or regions. Literally the whole country is made up of autonomies. Like every section of Spain is almost like a little mini country within itself. So if they're already trying to vie for secession, you know it's going to be pretty serious. You've probably already heard of a lot of these. As mentioned with France, they have the Basque community seeking for reunification with the French side and their own statehood. Then you have Catalonia, Valencia, and the Balearic Islands that all have their own movements, but there's also a push to possibly unify all of the Catalan-speaking states. Then we have Galicia, Aragon, Andalusia, Asturias. They all also have their own separatist movements. And from there are autonomous movements for Cartagena and Leon. And there is a proposal from the people of Granada to break away from Andalusia and create their own separate autonomous community led by the Juntos por Granada party. So much happening in Spain, man. All right, let's move on to Sweden. Sweden has the Skåne area led by the Skåne party, basically the southernmost tip of Sweden. It's basically the part that connects to Denmark with the Öresund Bridge. And the people here are known for having a dialect that's kind of like similar to Danish. Like Carolina from my Sweden episode, she was from Skåne. And Danes always like to joke that they're going to take over Skåne someday. And like if a Swedish person tries to cross the frozen waters, then they legally have the right to beat them with a stick. That rule was like from 400 years ago. I don't know. Gus, I would love to see you actually enacting that law. Anyway, next up, Switzerland. Even Switzerland has something going on, okay? Like nice, organized Switzerland. Even they have some people that are like, hey, let's do our own thing. They have the autonomous movement for the French-speaking Eurasian peoples in northwestern Switzerland. So yeah, I guess that's a thing. For Ukraine, we already mentioned the Russian occupation stuff, so we're not going to get into that. But in addition to that, there's also the Carpathian Ruthenia movement within Ukraine. It's home to the ethnic Rusins, which are another Slavic group of people. They live mostly in the mountains, and they are proposing further autonomy within Ukraine. And finally, we have the UK. Oh my gosh. Okay, I lied. Actually, the UK has the most, not Russia. So you guys already know the UK is made up of a multitude of administrative units, but the largest ones are the constituent countries. England, Scotland, Wales. Some people consider Northern Ireland a country or a region. They don't know exactly what to label it. But the point is, those Those four are the largest ones. And each one has their own separate government system. They have their own parliaments, they have their own first ministers, which are like their own prime ministers, and it's a whole convoluted system of how they have to intertwine each other's legislative interworkings with each other. But I don't know, yeah. The point is, Scotland, Wales, and even England do have their own separatist parties led by their own political movements. And the peoples of Northern Ireland, depending on which group you talk to, have proposed one of two things, either independence or reunification with Ireland. Otherwise, there are minor movements within the UK that have some kind of established advocacy group or political party that has made propositions for some higher level of autonomy within the UK. They are Cornwall, Northumbria, Midlands, London, Fife, Canvey Island, Cynon Valley, Gwynedd, Isle of Wight, Shetland Islands, Orkney, Yorkshire, Northeast England, Wessex, Gibraltar, and the Isle of Man. So there you go. Those are all of the, I don't even know how many that was. I think there was like over 100 known active secessionist organized movements within Europe. Not all of them have high chances. Some of them are kind of laughed at by their respective countries that they lie in, and some of them are actually very serious. The point is, in the end, everybody has a community, and oftentimes you want your community to be uplifted and I hit my... Anyway, I don't know what I'm getting at. I'm trying to be all preachy or something. I'll just stop because it's getting cringy. Anyway, that was my video. Hope you liked it. Cheers. Stay cool. Stay tuned.